Grinch changes at the last minute, which was a pretty big deal considering he's the main character. So let's give it to Pastor Jay. This is our children's director. She's the one who put this whole thing on. She did it before I let you clap for her. She did a phenomenal job with this play, and she actually, I think, maybe found some type of something different. She just like pretty much went off of it completely and wrote the whole thing, and it's perfect for what we do and what we're about. So I'm so proud of you. I think you did a great job. You have a lot to be proud of yourself today. So let's give her a hand clap. You know what I love about our little Who church? Is we ain't perfect. And I love it. That's what I love about it. Jessica's back there going, oh, Lord, we got some sound issues and everything. We're going to put this on Facebook. Yes, I am. Because I think it just shows you perfect what kind of church we are. Because we've all been some Who's, right? I think one of the lines in the script that really stuck out to me the most, and obviously I had a chance to marinate on it over and over and over again since it just so happened to be my line, but it was, who's going to tell them about Jesus? Did you pick that up at the beginning of it? It's who's going to tell them about Jesus. And I think that's the biggest thing that I like and the greatest thing I like about this play, because it's the synopsis. I don't know, you kept hearing about the hands and feet. That's our ministry that we have called the Hands and Feet Ministry, where we go out to the poor and the homeless, and we minister to them on the streets. We're more of a street evangelistic team where we like to get on the streets as opposed to necessarily going into the homes. We like to get on the streets and minister to them on the streets. That's what you heard a lot of about the Hands and Feet. So I just wanted to clear that up in case you kept hearing it wrong. I think it's the Hands and Feet. The Hands and Feet ministry is our Hands and Feet ministry. We go out and do that. And I think that's important because there's a couple of points I want to make. Who, if there's nothing else that you remember from this whole thing, that's a random spot. Just get up and sit wherever you want to. She got all starified. Sit where I want to go sit. But that's my question to you. I mean, that's the whole point, is who's going to tell them about Jesus? You know, in Luke chapter 2, we all read this. We read in Luke chapter 2, and she read most of it, so I'm not going to go through it. But she said, in those days, a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be registered. This was the first registration when Quirinius, the governor of Syria, and all went to be registered, each to his own town. Now, why did they go to be registered? Why? Why did it happen that this was the first census? Basically, is what it was a census. Why? Why did it tell us here? Because we have a record of Jesus Christ. It all goes back to Jesus Christ. This was the first reference of the first census that had ever been done. Now we just gloss over these things in the Bible. We just read it because it's the story of Jesus. You know, this should give you validation for what you have faith for, because we can follow it all the way back to the first census that was done. Jesus was real, is real, and he walked this earth. And it says in verse 3, and all went to be registered, each to his own town. And Joseph also went from Galilee, from the town of Nazareth to Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be registered with Mary, his betrothed, engaged, who was with child. Now, I kind of talked about this last week. We went to a homeless shelter last week and got to go to Genesis House, where there's kids that don't have what our kids have. You know, their mothers are in homes. A lot of them we couldn't even take pictures of because they're in hiding from men who said they were going to kill them and kill their children. And so they're in hiding, couldn't even take pictures. And this is the who's. Who's going to tell them that there's a Jesus that loves them so much? See, we come into church and we get our little nativity scene and we sing our little Joy to the Worlds and Silent Nights. But we forget the fact that Jesus Christ, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, left his estate in heaven to be born without a home. Is that correct? He was laid in a manger. And what I think is interesting is they wrapped him in the same clothes that he was going to be buried in swaddling clothes. The same stuff that he was put in when he was first born, he was born to die. was the same clothes that he was going to be buried in. Now, isn't that interesting? This isn't just some cataclysm of events that happened. This is, and I think really, to be honest with you, more so than being focused on Jesus, we need to be focused on Jesus. Let me say that correctly. But more focused on the birth of Jesus. You know what Jesus would really like you to do? Is tell them about what he did on Calvary. Because that's what he came here for. That is the greatest gift. When you give somebody a gift that's been re-gifted, it's got scratch marks on it, and they open it up and they're playing with it, and it's like to them it's the best thing they've ever had. Church, we got to wake up. There's a lot of who's, but we're not doing anything. We're sitting inside of our four walls, we're drinking our brew. Coffee. Brewski's coffee, hopefully. We're drinking our coffee, we're drinking our espressos in church, we're listening to some jamming music. We come in and hear the same things over and over again. Give me a message that's going to make me feel good. I can pat myself on the back. And when you talk to a mother, and you say, and you look her in the eyes and say, how many times has the church ever sat down? It was not to gloat on our church that we're sitting down and actually doing these things, but I wanted the people who were there to hear it from their mouth. And I asked her, how many times has a church ever came in here and actually sat down and talked to you like you were a human being? And she was like, not much. Most times they'll drop off about 5 or 6 bags of clothes out the door, out the back door, and they'll leave. Or if they come and make us food, they'll come and they'll cook it, and then they'll leave. And we'll be like, no, you can stay. And, oh, we got something to do. I'm sorry, we can't stay. There's a lot of who's. We ain't doing nothing. What's the Grinch? The second point I guess I want to make is, what is the Grinch in your life? See, there's a lot of who's, but the who's ain't doing nothing because we think that we're different. See, in this play, we think that we're different than the Grinch. They were all in church, they were in Sunday school doing the same thing, and you heard them say, oh, tell the Grinch about Christmas. Oh, tell him about Jesus. The Grinch had some issues, don't you? Don't you? The church has heard me say this many times before. But when God, a lot of people ask, how do you and Jessica do the church? It's just like, I have no idea. I'm just going to be flat out honest with you. I have no idea what I'm doing. But I literally feel like God has got a hook in my mouth, and he's just pulling me his path in the way that he wants us to go. There was a time that Jessica would give money to a homeless person on the side of the road, and I'd be like, what are you doing that for? Stop. He's going to go buy crap with it. He needs to go get a job. He can go get a job and work just like everybody else can. What if Jesus would have said that about you in your poor state? Because let's not put on the front like we got everything together. Because on the outside we look good, even with my knee-high socks, which I like. It just so happens there's another girl wearing these socks, but I really make them look really, really good. We got it all together on the outside, but inside we are spiritually bankrupt. Because we come inside and we hear the words over and over again. How many people, this is your more than 10th time ever seeing a Christmas play? You've seen Christmas play more than 10 times. It's probably well over half the room. Silent night, he had no place to lay his head. Remember it says that in that song? Did you know that? Or is it just a song? Do you even realize what you're even singing? But yeah, we got to have everything, right? We got to live up to the Joneses. I got a Nissan Maxima up there I had to have because I had to keep up with the Joneses, and all it did was put me in debt. God knew what he was talking about. Oh man, no money. God sure knew what he was talking about, because you become a slave to a system that's not his. We are governed by what's on the outside. Those people who have, I'll hang out with. Those people who have not. Christian said the other day, like one of his buddies got some new Jordans, and he said he wanted some new shoes. I said, no. Why do you want new shoes? Well, because I need new shoes. Well, my friend got new shoes. He got some new Air Jordans, and I want some. So, Christian learned the lessons now that I didn't learn, because I had to have it too. I had to have the brand new Reebok pumps, when those came out. And you say, hold on a second. I'm getting ready to school through them all, but hold on one second. I got an extra 3-inch jump off of that right there. Now let's play some ball. You know what I mean? This is crazy. Back when I was a kid, it was starter jackets. You know what I'm saying? Everybody had to have starter jackets. The Bulls, half of them the Hoyas. Nobody even knew who the Hoyas was, but like Georgetown Hoyas was like a big starter jacket to get because everybody else had one. Chicago Bulls. The Celtics. Yeah. Just like you know who the Celtics is? No, man, I know they got something to do with green and Irish people and stuff, but other than that, you don't even know who the Celtics are, man. You're wearing a jacket. Why? Because that's the way we are from kids. Those who have, we associate with. Those who have not, there was a kid. I mean, I'm just being real with y'all tonight. You know, I feel like y'all are a be real kind of crowd. There was a guy when I was in first grade, I'll never forget, he was Stinky Claude. That was his name, Claude, and he was Stinky Claude. He stunk all the time. Used to pick on him all the time. God, if I could just go back and give him a hug and say, oh, sorry. Stop. Those who have, we associate with. Those who have not, we don't associate. Or because the Grinch is a little grumpy. Maybe there's a reason why he's grumpy. That's because the Who's ain't doing their job. He said inside the play that nobody's ever come out to even tell him about the gospel of Jesus Christ. We automatically assume because they're born in America, they know. They may know Jesus, but do they know Jesus? And how are they to know? How are they to know? That's a question you can answer. Anybody, speak up. How are they to know about Jesus? From the mouths of babes. From us. From our examples. So what's our example to the world? Think about that for a second. Church. What is our example to the rest of the world? Do you want to have anything to do with God? You know, being in a Christian metal band, I did say Christian and metal band in the same sentence. Being in a Christian metal band, I've talked to tons of kids who are atheists, agnostic, who don't even want to have anything to do with God. You know what one of their biggest reasons is? Because the own people that call themselves Christ followers have nothing. Now you can call that cockamamie, you can call it just an excuse, you can call it what you want to, but either way, they ain't in church for that mentality. Think about that for a second. These are teenagers. You know, and then we get crucified because we go out and we play Christian metal music. Well, what are you doing? Sitting inside church in your four walls? No, I'm going to go. If I got to play some metal music to go, then I'll go. And to sit and talk to these kids who are Satanists and who are agnostic and atheists, and talk to these kids who are the people that we shy away from. They're like the Grinch. They're like, oh my God. I'm saying the Grinch was a Satanist or anything. I'm just saying. You know, but I can't talk to him. I'll never forget when God called, me and Jessica to start ministering more to people who are, it started with the homeless ministry, and then it kind of started moving into addictions, people who have addictions, drug addictions in particular. And I remember thinking to myself, I can't answer people who are addicted. And you've heard me say this to me many times before, and I'll say it for y'all. Some of y'all haven't heard it before. But do people say God talks to people? Yes, He does. And you know why? Because He said to me. He said to me. Now, right longer if you can say, oh, you're just probably doing whatever. He said to me, who do you think you are? And it wasn't like one of those questions that was like, oh, well, I'm a son of God. No, it was like one of those questions of, who do you think you are? Like you're somebody special? Like I had to deliver things off of you? You know, see, many of y'all know this. I'm a very transparent person. That I had an addiction with pornography, a very deep addiction with pornography. Deep addiction with pornography. Even to the point where it affected my relationship with my wife. Well, because my sin is different. I can hide mine better. You know, I have to have track marks and everything. I can go home and look at it and nobody else can know. If you are a man in this room and you're looking at porn, you better stop it. Because it'll rob you of everything you have. Any intimacy, any true love and compassion, it'll rob you of everything that you have. And you need to stop. Because I got scars too. You may not be everyone's scars, but I got scars. It's still hard for me to be, and it's difficult sometimes to be intimate with my wife. I'm not talking about like that. I'm just talking about even just to love on her and show her affection. Because my mind has been brainwashed by something that was just, you know what I mean? It's what I want when I look at it and you know, and then going about my business, you know what I mean? And it's very just go through the motions kind of thing. It was totally complete numb. And then you wonder why your wife doesn't respect you. Women ain't stupid. So a man in here, if you are, and you say that you can't minister to somebody because of this, or you can't minister to somebody on that, my question to you is, who do you think you are? I didn't plan on this being so who do we think we are? Like who's going to tell them about Jesus? We take a strong look in the mirror and say that I need Jesus myself. And it starts, if you can't, Jesus said, love God first, love others. Humble yourself before me, humble yourself before others. He didn't say that person's probably going to buy crap with it. Why don't you let him deal with that? He's God. What do you just do what he said? Dude, there was a family on the side of the road today. Raining. Me and Jessica are out going to get things, and it's raining and they got their little boy. Now, I can sit there and think to myself, oh, it's just a show. Oh, yeah, bring the kid out here. In the rain, bring the kid. That's a show. Or I can jump out of the car and go run and give the guy $20 and say, God bless you. God loves you so much. And he's like, I know he does. That was our last words. And then, you know, we're on Kingsmont Boulevard and I had to run. He's like, I know he does. He's in a 10 times worse situation than half of us in this room. And we sit here and whine, moan, and bellyache about the smallest thing while he's got his kid on the side of Haynes Mall Boulevard in the rain underneath it with his wife, all cuddled up underneath an umbrella, and everybody through there, Haynes Mall Boulevard, is passing them by, judging them. Judging them. And I'll say to you, who do you think you are? You forget what Jesus did for you? What if Jesus would have passed you by? What if Jesus would have passed by the lepers, or the poor, or the hungry? What if he would have passed them by? Said, you know what, they're going to spit in my face later. They're not going to have nothing to do with me. They're going to say that they love me inside church, but then they're going to go live like the world. He didn't say that. He said, I'll die for you, knowing that you were going to spit in his face. And that's why I get so passionate about it. Because the biggest Christmas present that you can give anybody, we celebrate the birth of Jesus. But you know, I was in the shower today getting ready, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, and Jesus began to talk to me again, and he began to say to me, you're focusing on the wrong thing. Like it's great for you to tell about my birth, but I don't need a birthday. I don't need you to throw me a birthday party. You know what I need you to do? I need you to go out and tell other people about that. I need you to go out and give the free gift that I gave to you. And cost you a dime. We're focusing so much on the birth of me is great, because if it would have been the birth of me, there wouldn't have been the death of me that brought salvation. But we cling to these things and we do absolutely nothing. This makeup is killing me. I don't know how you will do that. My nose is about to We sit back and we hoard it. We hoard the gift. We don't go out and give the gift because we want to judge and self-proclaim that somebody's got some, problem or it's crazy. It's crazy. So if I could end with anything, it would be, who's going to tell them about Jesus? Yes. Hallelujah. Amen. Did you hear that? It has some more gravel on it. I'm so proud of these kids. Because do you realize that your kids are up here doing stuff, and they're singing, and it's all great, they look cute. But when you see two kids who are taking a homeless person and are praying with them in downtown Greensboro, that's your grandchildren. That's your children. Do you realize that? Do you realize that not only was the guy so elated that two kids prayed with him, he went and got somebody else from inside the Greensboro Library where they're huddled up because it's cold to grab them out so they could pray with her. That's your kids. I mean, this is a happy moment. This is something we can leave our children about and say, man, that is so awesome. Your grandchildren, your children are much more than that, because I've seen them get out in cold. And a lot of people say, you bring your kids to that. These kids understand more about that stuff than you and I ever would at their age. That's Jesus. That's the who's. We, this church, are going to be the who's. We are going to tell them about Jesus. We're not just going to wait for some other who to tell them. We're going to tell them about Jesus. And we're going to go to where they're at. And I understand that. You know, to be honest with you, next Sunday, there'll probably be half of these chairs full. Because the calling from God to go and make disciples, or to take up your cross and follow me, to do stuff that's a little uncomfortable. Oh, Corey, I can't give to God. I mean, I can't talk to somebody about Jesus. God didn't hear me that way. Boom. That's a cop-out. And you and I both know it. Because he didn't say, go and make disciples of men if you feel comfortable, or if you feel led to. He didn't say that. He said, go. Or go only for the pastors and the evangelists. They can go. Everyone else, y'all just sit and you just soak it up. I could come out here and I could preach a big old sermon, and I could tell you every Sunday, and I could never challenge you and everything else, and we could have a big old live band and there was smoke, and it could be so beautiful, and it would be awesome. We could have lights dancing around all over the place, and I could probably have 500 people in here. I've been in music for 15 years. I know how to pack a place if I wanted to. We was talking about this one night at Bible study. Do you realize who the worst church planner in the world was? Who?
Jesus.
Jesus. I mean, he's preaching his most famous sermon. And he starts off with, unless you can give up everything and follow me, you can't be my disciple. Who says that? I mean, that's like a great church planning sermon right there. Oh, Jesus, I can come, but my daddy died. I need to go bury him. He's like, let the dead bury their dead. Come follow me. Jesus, you understand, man. I mean, my family just died. Let the dead bury their dead. Come follow me. And after everybody had left, I'm sure the disciples didn't go, oh yeah, we got 3,000 people up in here. Our movement's growing. Jesus is about to become king. We about to be up beside him. And we about to have people down at our food. We about to have some food. And it's about to be off the chain. And then Jesus, your leader, stands up and says, come deny yourself, deny everything you have, sell everything you have, and come follow me. I bet the disciples are sitting there going, what the flip? I mean, like, put yourself there. And you know what happened? Everybody left. And all that was left was the 12. And he looked back into them and said, you'll go with them too? And they're like, where are we going to go? You're the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Where are we going to go? So you're not going to get multitudes of people with that message. And that's what Jesus was saying. That doesn't ring beautiful in our ears, does it? Sell everything you have and give it to the poor and come and follow me. Ride your motorcycle in 20-degree temperatures and go out and give to kids and do a ride for kids. That's what Jesus would do.
you saying Jesus would have been a motorcycle rider, that he would ride a Harley Davidson and stuff?
If it meant he had to do it for the children, sure he would. We've got a misnomer that goes nothing, it's not even with Scripture. We're told we can have our best life here. You can have everything you want. Just dream past it, just vision it. It can be yours. That's not Scripture. Jesus said, die to yourself. Take up your cross and follow me. You do realize that every single one of his disciples died. You do also realize that that man did start a movement. Because guess what? 2,000 some odd years later, guess who's still sitting in these chairs being talked about? Jesus Christ. But it's the few. It's the few that are going to take us. My question would be, are you going to be one of the who's? Heavenly Father, God, we love you so much. We thank you for everything that you've done for us, God. And Jesus, I know that I'm nothing without you. And I know that I wouldn't even be able to talk to you, God, if it wasn't for Jesus and the price that you paid on Calvary, Jesus. So thank you for going all the way for us. But we come into church year in and year out, and at Easter we hear about your death.